Hi everyone, it's Andrew here. I don't have any amusing intros for you today. I'm sorry. It's Tuesday night. I'm tired, very tired. This is yeah, don't really want to be doing this right now, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's important. I did release the last video by mistake, I suppose, because Terry also had one. So you might have noticed the double header last Wednesday. Well, you know, I've put myself in this jam, so I've really got to press on, haven't I? So I have made some progress. What have I done? As you can see, maybe in there are seats. The Range Rover seats are in. They're not loose, particularly loose, which is kind of cool. They're a bit big, Zoinks. Yeah, they're a bit big. Perhaps a little bigger than I would have liked, really. But you never know until you actually get the thing set up and sorted out, and you can get a good look at it. I think, as truck seats go, they're a bit big. So let's get the camera down and have a look in and see for yourselves how they look. Right, so yeah, so there they are. They're a good height. I quite like the height of them. I think that sits okay. So yeah, they don't look too shabby at all. Now, what you can maybe also make out in there is the door cards. I have also made some door cards and put them on the sides of the doors, obviously. I haven't finished those yet. There's some handles and things to go on. But I'll tell you what, the major issue with this so far has been the fact that the cab is all one piece and the only access you've got is through the floor. Right, well I should probably show you this live, shouldn't I, instead of doing it afterwards, off camera I should say. I should probably show you this live. The floor isn't secured into the truck, it's just resting on the truck's, on the bottom of the cab, sort of ledges. So forgive me if it's a bit rattly and noisy, but so far I'm happy that I can just undo the magnets, yank, and off it comes, alright, nothing falls out. So, let's put the chassis to one side. Right, so the Mog cab is, as I say, one piece. You've probably seen this already. It's one piece and access is therefore from underneath. So there's my floor that's in the truck with the holes cut out for the shock towers I showed you last time. And that makes it quite difficult to get detail on the inside at all. And I've also got to consider how I'm going to paint this and how I'm going to assemble it. I can't put too much detail on it and then jam the floor back in and snap it all off. And I've got to be able to deal with that and then put the floor in afterwards once it's all painted. It's quite a I'm at the point where I've got to use my brain really, which is probably why I'm so tired. So if I pull these out, they're hard enough to get out as it is. I've deliberately made the floor, fortunately the seats do recline, so I can sort of recline the seats, which lets them come out a bit easier, like so, fancy that. So what have I got? So the seats themselves are bolted. You can maybe make out there's two bolts under each seat. They are bolted on to the styrene floor, which is, as I say, a little bit wibbly wobbly apart from anything else because there's not much of it in the middle. I haven't glued up the backs, so the backs, as you've just seen, handily do recline fully if need be, and that'll be handy for figure positioning and indeed getting them in and out of the truck. They are on the original bases, on the kit bases. I have unfortunately had to cut quite a lot of that away. I've had to take the mounts off the bottom of the seats because they were sitting too high. So this has dropped the seats down. It means I can't slide them back and forwards, but you know, so be it. So they are a little bit lower than standard, but they are still on the original mount, which I quite like. I like that as a way of getting the seat off the floor. Yeah. So that was it. Basically a lot of cutting and measuring, making sure that I was going to hopefully get them roughly in a straight line. You didn't want them too offset in the cab. When you look through the passenger window, I don't want a staggered seat formation, and I wanted them to be roughly central in the cab when you look head on. As I say, the passenger one should be a little bit bigger because it's a 1.5er, but it is what it is. So I just wanted them to be even at least in the cab. So that's the floor. To do on this, really all I want to do is put a centre console in to cover that gap where the motor sits. but I can't put too much in there. I can't really glue much styrene on because obviously it'll just snap straight off as the thing flexes. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to achieve that. Yeah, that's probably another mission. Inside the cab, I have the door sills, as you can maybe can you make them out there? You see the door cards? Now it's just styrene that I've cut to shape and put in, glued on to the. It's quite thin, so it bends to the profile of the door, which is kind of curved. So it sits on the profile of the door. I've added a few more bits of card on top to give it some relief and to give it some interest, visual interest. The point really is that all I want to do is make sure that when you look through the window across the other side of the cab, you can see something vaguely door-like. There is no door moulding inside. Yeah, I've got plenty of door moulding on the outside, but nothing on the inside, just a flat sheet. So I didn't want that. I wanted something to say that's the back of the door. I haven't finished. I've got grab handles and things to put on it, as I say, and then I'll just paint the whole thing uniform. I've got like a black middle panel, I think, some of the pictures I've seen. On the back wall, I've just started doing a little bit of work on there. I've put like a T-shape in, just again a little bit of ribbing that's going to sit behind the seats, just for just that tiny little bit of visual interest. I might make like a panel if I can find if I can buy it and make a little box or something. You know, like a first aid box that might be up. I always have first aid boxes in my truck, so I might do that. A little bit of trademark, I guess, and maybe a fire extinguisher if I can find a suitable sized one on eBay. Just to pop a little, again, a bit of colour, a bit of interest in the cab. As I said, underneath here where the motor is, I've got to make a little console. Yeah, I have marked it out on the back there, on the back wall. Maybe you can make that out with a little pencil kind of archway. So I'm going to have to think of some way of, I don't know whether I'm going to mount it on this wall, because there's nothing here, nothing at the front to mount it off, so it'll have to sort of sit up off this wall, which seems unlikely. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with that. I can't mount it on the motor like the real thing is. The real one, when you tilt the cab up, because the cabs tilt like this in real life, off the front of the truck, the gear sticks and stuff are all stuck on the top of the engine gearbox underneath. I can't even do that because it's just a motor, so you know, they don't take too kindly to having things glued on them or screwed into them. The other issue I've got is the windows. Now, that's an issue, a challenge, let's call them. Now, the windows you get with these things are just clear styrene sheets. Because it's going to be glued onto the surface, when I peel this backing off, again, when I look through the cab, I don't want to see all this kind of glued on perspex sheeting. It just looks a bit, it kind of defeats the point, you know. It's such a beautifully made thing on the outside. I don't like the idea that the illusion is shattered as soon as you peek inside. I'm not going to stick a camera in here or anything, but you know, I want there to be just enough visual interest in there to catch your eye and kind of fool your eye. I think I've said this before in some of my weathering videos, that a lot of what you're doing, I think, for me, it's all personal opinion, of course, and take this as gospel, but for me, a lot of what we do on these things, what I do on these things, is just about fooling yourself. You're fooling the eye, fooling whoever's watching the video, fooling yourself to a degree. Could have said that better, I suppose. That there is something there. You're trying to convince people there is detail in there. Don't worry about it. There it is. Look, there's something there. You can see it. Okay, move on. You know, it's not going to stand up to scrutiny. Maybe like the outside will get much more attention, obviously, but I just wanted to be something in there. And for me, having a big glued-on sheet of plastic visible is not the thing. So what I'm going to do is I have made some frames, some outer frames. So when the window goes into the cab, so it's going to sit. The idea is it'll sit like that on the window. The glue will be behind it, and you won't see the glue. That's my aim. So I'll paint this separately and then put it on. So painting's a doddle. Won't have to worry about getting paint on the window. These quarter lights are already glazed. I think he's moulded. He's put the glass inside this thick plastic, this thick quarter light moulding, which is a separate piece by the look. And again, it's got brown tape on the one side, but it's completely clear on the inside. So I'm going to have to mask the inside before I spray. The windscreen, I'm not going to go to such elaborate, you know, frames. I'm not going to go to such elaborate depth. I simply can't get access to it. Once I've got the screen in, I'm not going to be able to really get a lot of detail in behind. You know, it's just the dashboard's in the way and everything else. Don't even know how, whether I'm going to be able to successfully, with any great conviction, paint too much detail on the dashboard. So it's just a bit, it's all a bit cack-handed getting in here. Could do with the roof being moulded separately, really, or removable, or in some way, you know, that would be great. Get access in through the top as well, but such as it is. So yeah, that's where I'm up to with it. It's taken a little while. I hopefully will have some more exciting developments. I'd like to think I might have this painted next time you see it, inside I mean, so you can get an idea of the detail, how it looks properly done. With a little bit of window jiggery pokery, as I say, but yeah, it's coming along. It's a little bit awkward access wise, but you know, you kind of make the best of it. And if it doesn't appear to have enough detail in for my liking, I'll just make the windows extra dirty so you can't make it see much anyway. Tel did suggest putting a heavy tint on them so you can't see in for love and money. So that's my final. That's obviously the plan B if nothing works out detail wise. Now this is not just the only thing that I'm going to be doing in the foreseeable future. So you might just find that the next video from my bench is my FTX Mauler, because that's going to get a rear axle steering, a rear wheel steering setup. I'm going to attempt it anyway. I've no idea really, but it can't be that hard. The rear axle is and the front axle are the same axles. You just bolt on, or I guess you just put on all the front steering gubbins onto the back axle, hook up with the servo, which sits on the axle anyway, and you know, as long as your transmitter can cope with it, it should be fine. It should work, and it does overcome. It will overcome its main problem, which is manoeuvrability. It doesn't have any currently. It's going to go to Wales. It's going to run with Steve's Capra, so it's going to have to be on its A game. Basically, yeah, I want to make it manoeuvrable. I'm going to put the biggest tyres I can find on it and just nail it everywhere. That's maybe going to be the next update. Might be more of this, might be both. But you'll only find out if you like and subscribe and hit the bell, and that way you won't miss another one of these gripping installments in how slowly can an old bloke put together a fairly basic interior series. Yeah, I think that's what we'll call it. It's quite snappy. Anyhow, right, over and out. I'm going to have a beer. I'm tired, and yeah, I'm kind of done talking. Alright, bye.